gonna just sail away. The crashing waves help me stay as it all slips away.
Welcome, welcome everyone to TVOSJ, the voice of San Joaquin. And now it is time for Balancing the Scales.
Welcome to Balancing the Scales, the Economic Justice Report. This is Joseph Bernsdorff, and on today's show we got these topics going on. We're going to talk about French workers fighting for their pensions, the Family Act, Nazi propaganda, and welfare benefits in Belgium. Before I get to those topics, I'm going to talk a little about viewer comment, event in Stockton, and political commentary. But, by the way, if you're new to this show, on this show I talk all about economic justice, social justice, and how you can improve your personal economics by your vote, or through your vote. Let's get the viewer comments. Got a comment from Sophie from Lodi. Asked me, Vic, why are Nordic people so happy? Don't they pay the highest taxes of all industrialized countries? Yeah, they do. But guess what? They figured out 50 years ago, or more than that, the cheapest way to provide all the essential services for humans, child care, health care, college, long-term care, even paying for your pension through the tax system. Yeah, they pay 40, 50, 60% in taxes, but they have more left over after the basics are paid, after the most important services are paid for. And you know what? All people, everyone in the world, wants to do two things. They want to maximize their income and minimize their expenses. You think Nordic nations didn't figure that out? Don't you think they want that too? Yeah, of course they do. And they figured out, instead of having private companies pay for those services, pay for the service through the tax system. And that's why their taxes are high. But since there's no middleman, they have more money left in their pockets at the end of the month. Good question, Toby. Okay, an event in Stockton. Stockton Restaurant Week starts January 17th to the 26th. This is where restaurants from around Stockton show off some of their best or most popular dishes from their kitchens at a special price during that week. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, today's political commentary is about reframing the word socialism. Now, if you know the word socialism, it's got a lot of media play because of Bernie Sanders. He's a democratic socialist. But that word has for the past 50, 60 years been demonized, especially by the Republicans, for being associated with communism. And when I went to high school, I didn't learn about what socialism was. Capitalism, of course, but not socialism. And that gave the Republicans some leeway of come up with their own explanation, demonizing that word. Well, guess what? Bernie is explaining that term, explaining the word socialism in a new light, what it really means. And what that word really means is we are a community, need to help each other. That's what socialism means. Whereas capitalism is basically you're on your own and good luck if you lose your job or whatever happens. Okay? If you notice that Bernie's slogan, it's us, not me. And that's what socialism is all about. Okay? Okay, so basically, the Republicans keep talking about socialism. Young people are going to say, yeah, bring it on. Okay, let's talk about the first of many topics today. French workers fight for their pensions. This comes to you from Bloomberg.com, dated 12/11/2019. Now, let's watch the clip, and I'll come back and talk about it. A clip of the French people fighting for their pensions.
But in the 1980s, as growth slows down, unemployment rises. The population has changed, less workers, more pensioners. In 1990, Prime Minister Michel Rocard addresses the issue.
French demographics have changed. We don't have enough active workers for the numbers of pensioners, period. And that's enough to blow up any future government who tries to tackle the matter.
And he wasn't wrong. In 1995, Prime Minister Alain Juppé tried to reform public workers' pensions.
I will carry through with this reform.
As a result, one of the biggest strikes in France's history. The country is paralyzed for an entire month.
I fully support them, because we're sick and tired of being treated like cattle.
I had to laugh about that because the French people I have a lot of respect for it. They have the best pension system on earth, but he's right. Well, I mean, to talk about being treated like cattle, I don't know about that. But anyway, I really have nothing but respect for the French citizens and also the Hong Kong citizens. They fight tooth and nail for the benefits. But let me give the backstory, okay? I think you just heard, folks, and stick with me through this, because even though pensions don't apply to 90% of Americans, just I got a moral to the story, so stick with me. In the mid-1990s, as you just heard, the French government efforts to scale back benefits was blocked by strikes, huge strikes, right? Recently, the French president, Emmanuel Macron, has vowed to reform the pension system, one of the world's costliest and best. France has seen a preemptive nationwide revolt as a consequence of that effort, as public sector workers fear changes to the pension benefits might occur. Much of the country has been disrupted. 60% of the trains are running only, and metro, bus, and tram transport are affected as well. Just the fear. Did you see that demonstration out there? Just the fear they may lose benefits got it out on the street. Let me give you some stories, personal stories. This is from Yvette Gervais. She's 52, who works as an administrator in a town hall north of Paris for 20 years, and she says it's a question of life or death for the French social system, which Macron is dismantling. We're being taken back to a time before 1945 where we risk losing the entire social safety net. Okay, now listen to these words. She's using where we risk losing the social safety net. Just the risk, just the word risk is getting them out on the street, as you've just seen. Massive protests, right? And the fear of losing their benefits. That's all it takes for the French to get out there and shut the government down, shut the country down, to protect their the pensions that they've paid into and has given the French people the higher standards of living in the world. Now, let's watch this clip. And pay attention to the college scene in America.
Down the government.
That's right.
That's right.
And force a new election.
That's right.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story.
Here's what students do when the government tries to fleece them in countries like Canada, Germany, France, Finland, and Norway. And here's what happens each time there's a tuition hike in the U.S.
Where's our backbone, folks? Where's our backbone? And what happens when students how they see their tuition rise, right? Or even adults, anyone who goes to college, tuition goes up. What do? They go home crying their beers, and then the next day go out and take out more student loans for jobs that can't afford them to pay back the student loans. Why don't we get on the streets, folks, and fight to have a better life? Fight to prevent being ripped off. Okay. Let me give you a summary. President Macron wants to simplify the complex French pension system so that all French workers have the same pension rights. So he says. We don't know what the real intention. The French people know the real intention. Recent polls show a majority of French support the strikes and protests since they fear they will have to work longer and receive lower pensions. Okay? Thanks to their pension system, which is probably the finest in the world, or one of the finest in the world, only 5% of the French seniors live in poverty, while their poverty rate for U.S. seniors is nearly 4 times that amount. So, like I said, told me to stick with me. This is the point of the story. The point of the story is that we Americans need to be more like the French and the Hong Kongers. They fight tooth and nail when just the talk of social benefit reform is mentioned. That's enough to get it out on the streets and no, you're not going to take 1 penny away from us. Okay? But more importantly, okay, we need to identify who is trying to take our benefits away here in America and vote them out of office, period. Now, let me read you something. This comes from actionnetwork.org. about having to sign a petition about the Trust Act. Let me read this. It's pretty important, folks. Pay attention. Politicians don't shut the door when they're trying to do something popular. That's why when members of Congress wanted to cut Social Security, they proposed doing it in a fast-tracked process behind closed doors where they won't have to shoulder the blame. Now, this is called the Trust Act. It was sponsored by Mitt Romney. So, a little more about this. The Trust Act is a fast-track process to cut Social Security benefits behind closed doors. We should all call on Congress to reject Senator Romney's Trust Act. Any debate over the future of Social Security must be done in the light of day where the American people can see it and the American people's voices can be heard. What they're trying to do is they're trying to take Social Security, I think Medicare as well, not do it in public, do it in the backdoor dealing, so you won't know, oh, the benefits are cut. Who did it? Who can I blame? That's the whole point. That's why they're doing it in the dark, because they don't want to know who to blame. They don't want to get voted out of office. But who is doing this? Mitt Romney. And what is he? Is he a Republican? What do Republicans do? They usually cut our social benefits. Okay, on to the next story. The Family Act. This comes to you from edlabor.house.gov, dated 2/12/2019. And also let me play a clip from Kirsten Gillibrand.
Here's the truth. At some point, every person here, every person you know, is going to have a situation where you have to take some time off from your work to meet and care for a family member. Whatever the case is, no working American should ever have to choose between their family members and a paycheck. We are the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't guarantee some form of paid leave. Recent reports have shown that this costs families $20 billion a year. The Family Act, the way we've written it, it's really affordable. It is about the cost of a cup of coffee a week for you and for your employer. It also gives you about 66% of your wages guaranteed for up to 3 months with a cap. The Family Act covers all workers, which I think is really important for all these debates that we have. It's not just about women, it's not just about new babies. All of us have family emergencies. The Family Act covers birth or adoption, taking care of an older family member, addressing one's own personal medical needs. It makes sense, it doesn't cost a lot of money, and it covers everybody. It's portable, it works with the gig economy, it works with part-time workers, it literally works with everybody because it's an earned benefit just like Social Security. It's good for business, it's good for this country, it's good for our economy, and we know it's good for families. So I urge all of you to support the Family Act. Thank you.
Okay, so Kirsten Gillibrand, she was one of the original Democratic contenders for presidents. But yeah, this is a great plan. Let me give you the backstory. The U.S. is the only industrialized country that doesn't guarantee its workers at least some form of paid leave. Now, some states have paid leave laws, like California, New Jersey, most recently Rhode Island. Guess what? They're all blue states, all democratically controlled legislatures. Overall, though, only 12% of U.S. workers have access to paid leave programs through their employers. Now, the Family Act that you just heard, proposed by Kirsten Gillibrand, a Democrat in New York, would create a universal, gender-neutral, paid family and medical leave plan that would cover all workers for any medical event. The Family Act would also reduce the share of families who fall into poverty after taking unpaid leave under the FMLA by 75%. The FMLA is fine, but guess what? It's 8 to 12 weeks of unpaid leave. Who can pay their bills while you're sick or taking care of a relative? Who can pay your bills for 12 weeks? I can't pay my bills for 12 weeks. Unpaid. That's why it's so important what Ms. Gillibrand, Senator Gillibrand, is proposing. Personal story. This comes from Fidel Orfre Hernandez from Family Values from Racine, Wisconsin. And I quote her. It was painful that I could not be there for my mom who held my hand as a child, who could not hear. I had to work to make money to pay the bills. We should not have to worry about anything but focusing on our loved ones' recovery. End of quote. Another quote. Stacey Lowry, Family Values, also a work member from Detroit, Michigan. Quote, when my 4-year-old daughter had a stroke, I lost my job and my home. This was my baby, and I wasn't going to leave her side, but I also needed a job to pay my bills. End of quote. So, what's the summary here? Specifically, the Family Act would do the following. It would provide 12 weeks of partial wages to working families, working people who need to take time away from their jobs to address a personal issue, take care of family health issues, care for a newborn child, or to take care of a serious personal injury. It'll be self-funded through payroll contributions from employers and employees of, get this, just 0.2% each. That's 2 cents per $10 in wages, or about $4 a week total, split between employers and employees. It would guarantee portable coverage so workers who have many jobs can change jobs, or else self-employed are provided with the same security as regular employees. The Family Act provides 66% wage replacement, capped at $4,000 a month. If you're interested in this benefit, it's important you ask your state legislature, your senator, congressman to vote yes on this bill. I think this is great and needs to be done. Otherwise, we're going to continue to pretend like we're a third world country. It's really disgraceful. Next story, spotlight story. This has to do with Nazi propaganda. Now, I decided I'm going to make propaganda a segment, a permanent segment in the show. Why? Because you guys, everyone in America, is being subjected to horrendous amounts of propaganda, and you have to discern who's giving you the truth and who's telling you a lie. And it's getting more and more difficult to make that determination these days. So anyway, spotlight story, Nazi propaganda. Give you some backstory. Everyone knows this is old news, but basically, let me just say it that during the last century, how did one of the most civilized countries on earth descend so quickly into one of the most barbaric countries on earth? Follow along with me, and you'll see how. Personal story. These are the quotes of Joseph Goebbels, who was the minister of propaganda. About 6 quotes here. And let me read all of them, and then while I'm reading them, just think to yourself how much of this is being used by the Fox News channel and conservative media. Okay, first one. First quote of Dr. Joseph Goebbels. A lie told once remains a lie, but a lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth. Propaganda works best when those who are being manipulated are confident they are acting on their own free will. Next one. Propaganda must direct the anger of the masses to the targets of the propaganda campaign. The rank and file are usually much more primitive than we imagine, therefore propaganda must always be simple and repeated non-stop. The most brilliant propaganda technique will yield no success unless one fundamental principle is borne in mind. It must be confined to a few short points and be repeated over and over again. Next one, final one. Not every bit of news should be published. Rather, those who control the news should try to make every news item serve your propaganda purpose. Okay? In summary, folks, while these quotes are all very true, this next quote is really the goal of propaganda, so pay attention. I'm going to say it twice. Here it goes. Get people to put your interest ahead of theirs, and they will be happy to suffer and self-destruct while helping you. Okay? Now, this next video is an example of this quote. Check it out.
Once at the checkout, the food stamp card works just like...
Let me just give you a backstory real quick. This is a mother and her niece in Appalachia, and buying food on a food stamp card, or EBT card, right? And, well, they continue on. You'll see what's going on. But they're shopping with their EBT card, food stamp card.
Any other credit card. And in this store in Appalachia, they are by no means the only ones who use one.
How many people pay with food stamps here?
Probably half the people that come in here. Mm-hmm.
It's a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Donald Trump plans to cut down on the amount of food stamp recipients. Critics say that risks making an already vulnerable society even poorer.
Okay. Hold out your hats, folks, okay? This is an area where Trump is cutting food stamps for people who really, really need it, right? 50% depend on it. Now, pay attention. Let's watch some more.
But ironically, here they voted 80% in favor of Trump, and their support for him continues seemingly unabated. To earn a little extra cash, Cyrenia does household chores for her neighbor.
Okay, hold on to your hats, folks. It gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it.
For a few dollars, she also cuts James's hair. He works in a mine and is a loyal Trump follower.
I am a Trump fan, yeah. I do support Trump.
Why?
because he's done everything he said he'd do. You know, Trump is willing to help other countries, but his country comes first.
Isn't that mind-blowing, folks? Isn't that totally mind-blowing? Now let me read you this quote again. Let me read you this propaganda quote. Get people to put your interest ahead of theirs, and they will be happy to suffer and self-destruct while helping you. You just saw an example of that quote. Okay, let's go on. Next story, go on to my How Great Are We segment. This time I'm going to talk about Belgian social welfare programs. This comes to you, by the way, from angloinfo.com. I'm not going to be talking about, I stopped talking about America's social welfare benefits. They're so puny anyway. Everyone knows what they are. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, 6 months of unemployment insurance, whatever. So let's talk about Belgium and what they give their citizens. Give you a backstory. The economy in Belgium and a lot of other European countries use the tax system to pay the needs for all of its citizens, especially the health needs. Right? How many times have you heard this statement? America is the greatest country on earth. Okay? Folks, most Americans don't travel internationally or read about other countries, so that unqualified statement of propaganda is very easy to believe, and it is believed. I've heard that statement since I was 8 years old, from parents, from school teachers, from neighbors, friends, media sources, right? Newspapers and TVs. America's the greatest country in the world. But it's never qualified. It's a statement. It's pure propaganda because you have to have it attached to something. Great at what? Great at going to the moon? Okay, I'll give you that. Great at creating atomic bombs? Okay, I'll give you that. But what else? How are they great in helping solving the problems of their citizens? Okay? This is what Belgian citizens get for their taxes, folks. Ready for this? 15 weeks maternity leave. That's 15 weeks of maternity leave. 10 days paternity leave. 20 days of paid holidays after 1 year of service. A birthday government grant is paid by the government to help parents for each child that they have. Just the grant to help them out. They pay 3.5% of one's salary, which is paid for health care. Choose any doctor. Everyone is entitled to free basic dental care in the country. They get a public pension at 65 years old, which is equivalent to 75% of your previous salary. Get unlimited unemployment benefit, which is 65% of your previous salary, but obviously it's reduced over time. You can't get 65% forever. But yeah, at least you got enough time to find another job. And they get taxpayer-funded long-term care benefits. So, what's the summary here? Belgium is the 18th happiest country, just above America in 2019. In Belgium and other Northern European Nordic countries, the citizens don't have to worry how to pay for their basic needs, like healthcare. The country's tax system takes care of all of that. Republicans can't stand that taxpayer-funded healthcare payment model because that means healthcare companies don't make a profit. If they don't make a profit, they won't pay for the Republicans' re-election campaigns. Not just Republicans, also a lot of Democrats as well. 65% of all bankruptcy in the U.S. were tied to medical issues, either because of high cost of care or time out of work. Or another way to put it, estimated 500,000 American families turn to bankruptcy each year because of medical issues and bills. Most of our politicians rather enrich healthcare companies and let American families suffer, in my opinion. Okay, they come to the end of the show. Next show is going to be on January 23rd, which is Thursday. We're talking about public ownership to the rescue, as in taking ownership of organizations that are currently private, making it public. Talking about Propaganda 101, healthcare scaring. Talking about the Dr. Bronner Company, which is a B corporation. Everybody talking about that. B means benefit corporation. And also I'm going to talk about Costa Rica social welfare benefits. That's the show for today, folks. Thanks for listening. This is Dick Bernsdorff about 89.5 FM KBCC Community Radio in Tracy. And always remember, social democracies are designed to protect you during every phase of your life. Have a great day.
For more information on the Voice of San Joaquin, go to tvosj.org.
Tune in to Sabor Latino Show for the latest news affecting Latinos in the San Joaquin Valley, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Spanglish shows, Monday and Wednesday for all Spanish exclusive news with El Profe Cortez, and on Saturdays featuring bands, mariachis, DJs live. Don't miss it. Find us on Simple Radio app and TuneIn app and all social media. TVOSJ.org. The voice of San Joaquin.